While I was playing Rolling Thunder, something occurred to me. Arcade to Famicom ports have slowed to an absolute crawl. They're never going to stop. In fact, this is the start of a tiny burst of them. But by 1989, the Famicom has its own identity, distinct from arcade games. And current arcade games require a lot of compromises to be ported to the system. Rolling Thunder was a 1986 arcade game. In it, your super spy has to infiltrate an evil organization, killing everyone on the way, and trying to save another operative. You might think the game looks fairly similar to Shinobi, and in fact, it's been cited as a game that inspired Shinobi. The Famicom port of Rolling Thunder is a pretty good representation of the arcade game. The graphics are stepped down, but not to an extreme extent. If you're familiar with the Tengen release of Rolling Thunder in the US, listen carefully to the Famicom version. The Famicom version uses additional sound channels that weren't available on the NES. Personally, I don't think it makes a big difference, but it is the kind of difference that I like to note. As you move Super Spy Albatross around, the A button jumps, the B button shoots. You can't fire while jumping, but you can jump between levels by pressing up and down and hitting jump. Up will also enter the doorways that you find dotted around the levels. Some of these are marked with what they have behind them: bullets and a weapon upgrade. You have a limited number of shots in Rolling Thunder, though I didn't have any problem with the bullet count. If you're not firing wildly, then you'll have enough bullets. Some of the unmarked doors have things behind them too. There could be a health recovery, some additional time for the clock, or an extra life. So you're going to want to try entering every door regardless of whether it's marked or not. Almost all of the enemies that you face are going to be cultists, these hooded guys that are running around. And they are all color-coded for your convenience. The ones in dark red just move around and die in one hit, while the green hooded cultists will take shots at you. The gray cultists will throw bombs, and the solid blue cultists can fade in anywhere. There's a lot more variety of cultists than those, and different colors will take different numbers of hits, or have slightly different attack patterns. On later stages, you'll encounter non-cultist enemies, like these guys who will bounce around and claw at you, or these panthers that will pounce on top of you. You technically have a life bar. It's exactly 2 bars long, and touching any enemy will take away one of those blocks. However, getting shot or getting hit with an explosive will take away your entire life bar instantly. So it really feels more like a one-hit kill system that has just a little bit of leeway built into it. The enemy patterns in Rolling Thunder could best be described as cruel. They have a tendency to drop in right on top of you, emerge from doors while you're standing there. You're given very little time to react, and as a result, most stages in Rolling Thunder require that you memorize the enemy patterns to make your way through. Like these giant bats. I spent a lot of time trying to fight them on the ground, when really the only thing that worked was to run forward, jump up to a high platform when I reached one, and shoot them from there. Similarly, these fire guys will bounce back and shoot up to the top of the screen if they land on a platform, so I wound up having to inch along here. And for the grenade-throwing enemies, you pretty much have to get underneath their arc, though often the stages are set up in such a way that it's extremely difficult to do that. Enemies are often positioned to completely block you, and your heavily restricted jumping and shooting prevents you from being able to take them out, and you'll wind up having to wait for them to decide to walk off in a certain direction and give you an opening. The platforming in this game is not good. Your jump has a fixed distance to it, and your positioning is not very clear. In this platforming section, you really have to be at the very back edge of the platform in order to jump to the next one. I had a bit of a problem with the controls in Rolling Thunder too. It felt like it dropped my inputs every once in a while. Sometimes I just wouldn't jump or turn around when I hit the button. The only alternate weapon you can get is a machine gun, and it really doesn't feel like that much of an upgrade. You're still going to want to just fire one bullet at a time. One of the major exceptions to that is when you get into a sniper duel with an enemy behind cover. You can go back and forth alternating your shots for a long time, or you could fire a burst from your machine gun that will almost definitely catch them. Something I didn't like is that there's no bosses at the end of stages, except for at the very end. There's only 5 stages, and you have to complete 2 loops of the game in order to beat it. I have to mention the between-level cutscenes. There are images of the female agent that you're trying to rescue getting tortured. It's not sexually explicit, but why would you make one of the reward screens a woman getting her top torn off by some guys in hoods? You have 3 lives and 3 continues to beat Rolling Thunder with, but every 2 stages that you clear, you get a password that'll let you pick up from there. And if you use this code on the title screen, the number of continues increases to 8. Rolling Thunder was followed up by a couple of sequels, one in the arcade and one only on consoles, and neither of those came to the Famicom. The Famicom version of Rolling Thunder seems to be well regarded in Japan. Not wildly popular, but I found a fair number of fans. As for my own view, it's a good port of a game that's second tier. I don't like how stiff the game feels, and I feel that the visual design comes across as a bit bland. Though I really do like color coding all of the enemies. It's a decision that lets them throw a huge variety of enemies into the game while only using one sprite design. The games that Rolling Thunder inspired are just so much better than Rolling Thunder itself. And the Famicom version feels like it's still set up for the arcade, where the goal is 2.5 minutes of play per 100 yen coin. I kinda like the game, but not enough that I go back to it often.